I would like to welcome you all to our first live session for Science in Progress. Today, and through this journey, we would like to take you all through the latest scientific research conducted in the UAE. My guests will be distinguished scientists and researchers from the UAE and the members of the Mohammed bin Rashid Academy of Scientists. They all have had a great impact to their scientific field, whether nationally or internationally. My name is Emel Hamadi. My colleague Amna and I will be hosting these sessions every week on Monday and Wednesday. We hope to see you every day. So, research and water security have been one of the priority areas for the UAE. That is not only shown in the recent restructuring of the government, where the water security have been added to Her Excellency Mariam Al-Mhiri's file, but also in the great amount of research and publications efforts been done in the UAE in the past years. To talk about research in the UAE, especially about water research and nanotechnology, let me introduce my guest today, Dr. Linda Zou. Dr. Linda is a professor of civil infrastructure and environmental engineering and the head of nanomaterials and water tech laboratory at Khalifa University. Welcome, Dr. Linda. Very happy to have you here today with us as a first session for Science in Progress.
Hello, Ms. Amal. Thank you to invite me here. And hello, everyone. I'm glad to talk to you today.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. Dr. Linda, I just mentioned you are the head of the Nanomaterials and Water Tech Laboratory at Khalifa University. Can you tell us what kind of research is conducted there and what kind of projects should we hear about?
Yeah, my research efforts mainly focused on design and fabricate nanomaterials that can help to improve the performance of separation of the salt from water, known as desalination, or remove the pollutants from wastewater, and reduce the need for chemical usage and increase the lifespan of membranes, treatment process, etc. I'm currently working on a number of research projects, such as developing fouling-resistant membrane surfaces, synthesis hybrid electrode materials for electrosorptive desalination called capacitive deionization, and remove fine oil droplets from industrial wastewater. I also worked on a project of using nanotechnology to develop cloud seeding materials for rain enhancement. And the project is very successful today. I will talk more about that project.
So you mentioned you work on membranes. Maybe can we explain to our viewers what is membranes? From my understanding, membranes are like filters, right? Is that?
Yes, it's a one type of filter. Yeah, it is a barrier which is semi-permeable. So it is a selective barrier. Barrier means you can separate things, but membrane's role is they stop something, like stop the salt molecules or pollutant molecules, and allow water, pure water molecule pass. So it is a semi-permeable selective barrier.
That's very interesting. It's just the word membrane might be very helpful to understand. That explanation, I think, helped a lot. So before we start talking about cloud seeding, maybe Dr. Linda, can you tell us how did you know that you wanted to do research?
Yes. I have a PhD degree in science and technology. And I have a PhD degree in science and both bachelor and master degrees in engineering and major in environmental engineering, which is a sub-discipline of chemical and civil engineering. And environmental engineers and scientists work with all issues related to water pollution, air pollution, climate change, water resource management, etc. Their aims is to protect the environment and ecosystem and the people's health and quality of life. So I worked as a government officer at Environmental Protection for 2 years, and the job requires me to inspect the emissions of industries such as power stations and paper mill factories, and also check their waste discharge license compliance and resolve the public complaints, etc., related to environmental issues. I gained a lot of excellent experience from this work. But during that period, I realized I like a career that allows me to investigate different scientific topics in more detail. So university faculty and academic become a very good option, career option for me. Until today, I'm still enjoying being a scientist. It allowed me to define the achievement and the success in my own way, of course, with a good attempt. Yeah.
So basically you moved from receiving the complaints to actually solving the issues. That's actually really amazing. And I can see how that's really inspiring for you to want to actually take action and change the environment for the better for everyone. Okay, so maybe you could tell us a story in your research career that you maybe felt like, yes, this is why I decided to go into this field.
Yeah, I have an open and responsive attitude towards new research, challenge, and topics. For example, was many years ago, after the home country experienced 15 years of worst drought, lack of rain in the history, and the wastewater reuse and recycle become really important. So, however, there are emerging so-called micropollutants. So in the wastewater, those micropollutants such as color-causing compounds, pharmaceutical compounds, pesticides residues, etc. And these chemicals cannot be removed by the traditional or conventional wastewater treatment plants. So new methods, techniques need to be developed to cope with new emerging issues. My early research project included using nanoparticles as photocatalyst. So this material not only absorbs these micropollutants onto its surface, but also break it down into less harmful CO2 and water. Later on, I engaged in research in desalination based on membranes and capacitive deionizations, etc. So by then, I found nanotechnology has a great potential to create breakthroughs in water technology.
I can't wait to hear actually how this works. Like how do you use nanotechnology to do that? So I guess we're all here today, to learn about cloud seeding, and it's a good time for us to now know how is cloud seeding done and how does it work?
Yeah, thank you for that. I prepared a PPT presentation. Here I will talk through using the share screen. So bear with me, I will get the share screen working.
Yes.
Hold on, this one should be off. Share screen and share
So
computer
everyone,
sound. Yes,
please add your questions in the Q&A.
And is that clear? Yeah. Okay, today I will talk about the topic of what is cloud seeding and how is nanotechnology used in it. To start this talk, I would like to show a short video which is prepared the national journalist team. It provides a very good background of cloud seeding operation practice undertaken right in this country year after year. So my research's role is really to help develop new materials for their future, but they already start doing a good job. Okay, the video lasts about 2 minutes. I hope you have enjoyed that.
UAE is one of the driest countries on Earth, with an annual rainfall of roughly 120 millimeters. As a result, it has to get creative when it comes to finding solutions for water. In the early 2000s, the UAE started performing regular cloud seeding operations. Cloud seeding is the process of increasing the amount of rain produced from clouds.
Some of these clouds, by nature, sometimes it rains, for example, only 40 to 50% of its rain that processed in the cloud that comes as rainfall. So by these operations, we try to increase this amount by, for example, from 15 to 30%.
So how does it work? It starts here, inside the National Center of Meteorology, where a team is constantly monitoring forecasts, looking for potential clouds to seed. The operations only work with cumulus clouds, which are vertical in shape.
Research 5 operation, can you read me?
Once they spot a cloud, they radio the pilots, who then take to the air armed with hydroscopic flares filled with a mixture of potassium chloride, sodium chloride, magnesium, and other materials. It's essentially salt. When the plane reaches the right clouds, the pilots release the flares.
These salts basically attracts the moisture and try to make it condense. So these particles becomes nuclei of condensation, and then when these droplets condense, and then they hit each other, and then they form a bigger droplet that the air cannot hold it any longer in the air. So it forms as rain.
In 2017, the UAE performed 242 cloud seeding operations. The government is confident the operations are increasing the amount of rainfall, but it's difficult to gauge.
Until now, there is no way that you can measure the success rate for each individual clouds. There are no two clouds are the same, and you don't know, for example, before actually you see the cloud, is it going to rain by itself or not, and by how much?
The country has also invested in rain research, offering millions of dollars in grant money to innovative researchers and projects.
Okay, so at the end of the video, you probably hear they said UAE also offers research grants to conduct rain formation research. And my next short video is about this research program. The reason I show that is I'm a proud receiver of these research grants. So I enable us to do this cloud seeding project here. I'm really grateful. I'm very grateful for that. So I would like to show this about 1.5 minutes short video. It's very interesting.
The United Arab Emirates, a country rising from the desert, where cities thrive and flourish, where excellence and innovation reach new heights every day. A young and ambitious nation, the United Arab Emirates identified access to water as central to our progress. Given our climate and geography, our future depends on finding innovative solutions to water scarcity. Early on, the UAE leadership embraced a pioneering role in preserving natural resources and ensuring water security as a central component of the nation's journey towards progress and prosperity. Serving this high vision on all continents, the UAE Research Program for Rain Enhancement Science, launched in 2015, encourages innovators to extend the frontiers of science and technology, connect the global scientific community and enable their collaboration, nurtures and fosters groundbreaking technologies, not just for the benefit of the UAE, but for the entire world. Today, let's celebrate the 2017 program awardees, recognize the progress made so far, and commit ourselves to achieve even more and reach even higher, as high as the clouds themselves. Water, above everything else.
Okay, so both video has been showed. The background has been laid. Now I would like to move to the actual technical presentation of my cloud seeding project. So I will talk about using nanotechnology to develop core shell structured particles as a novel cloud seeding material. So after receiving this UAE IEP research grant award in January 2016, I started to working on the project. The concept is to coat a thin layer of nanoparticles around the core material of pure salt. So as illustrated in this graph. So the coated nanomaterials is very hydrophilic. That means they like water. They want to attract more water. So synergistically, they will facilitate the water absorbing and the condensation, and finally turning the salt crystals into droplets easier and faster. So now we're back to this cloud seeding happening in the atmosphere. So when the sun irradiates on the Earth's surface, they generate heat. And the heat evaporates surface water into very tiny water vapor. And this water vapor rises up. They will travel as high as they can and as further as they will, maybe reaching Alaska or Russia. There they become snow, unless they encountered some natural occurring nuclear material and so make them condense into water droplets. So we have a chance to receive them back as rainfall. The natural occurring nuclear materials such as dust, volcano ashes, they very randomly appeared. You can't control where they are, how much you want. So globally, at this stage, there are more than 40 countries, 40 countries doing some sort of rain enhancement practice and operations. Among them, cloud seeding is the most common one. So in this type of thing, the aircraft will release the artificial seeding materials into the cloud. So help the water vapor absorption, condensation from water droplets. And these droplets will going through a process called a collision coalescence, hitting each other and grow into a bigger one, form rainfall by luck. So the most common artificial seeding material is table salt, NaCl. We know that, yeah. There are other materials, but more controversial, like silver iodine, potassium iodine, dry ice. They either very hard to handle, or they probably have some controversial harmful effects. So our design of this material is underpinned by hygroscopic cloud seeding theories as well. It shows progression of this condensation and directly related to how much water molecules around the seeding material. And the Holler's theory tells us if you want to grow your droplets unlimitedly large, that means it's going to become a rainfall. So you need to provide a lot of super saturation conditions. That means you need to have a really, really high moisture content. And the Kelvin equation reveals the critical size of these droplets related to its surface properties as well. So underpinned with this, we synthesized the concept material into these real crystals in our laboratory. The critical step is the crystallization. So we are not only need to control the size of the salt crystals in around 1.4 micrometer, but also we need to make sure the thickness of the coating layer is under control. So as you see in these TEM images, so we can review the layer of the coating is between 10 nanometers to 30 nanometers, very thin, okay? And these are the SEM images of the salt crystals. The top one is the bare uncoated salt crystals in cubic shape. The second one is coated with a layer of nanoparticles.
So I have a question. So how does the thickness affect the effectivity of this salt particle?
Yeah, it's a very important property, because eventually for this type of a hygroscopic seeding material, our end aim is it will turn into a droplets. So we'll start the heat collision process. But the titanium dioxide we coated, it has a surface property to attract water, but itself will not turn into liquids. So if you produce too much of them, you produce two things. One is a droplet, another one is a solid. You probably see the solids a lot. So that's why I want to minimize it. you just use another good part of the nanotechnologies. Everything works at the interface. You don't need bulk. Interface is enough, the very thin layers, okay. So next, we got these crystals, core shell structure. We need to see how it is performed under the controlled condition. So we're using an equipment called environmental scanning electron microscope. They tells us under the same humidity condition and what are the pure salt and the CSNT, the novel salt, novel seeding material behave. So you can see the left is the pure salt, the right is the CSNT salt, the core shell structure. So you can see along with the same progression of the humidity, the CSNT started change shape, and finally they are completely become liquid. Critically, they be much bigger in size. I will show it again. This time you probably pay attention to one of them, maybe the salt. See what happens. The salt, without the coating, they not much change until the humidity become really high, reaching the hygroscopic point. Still nothing happens. Finally, they turn into droplets, but without size increase. So from this two-dimensional evaluation, we found, wow, the interaction of our material with vapor, water vapor is much more active. Okay.
So what, before you go in, so the size matters here because the bigger it is, the heavier it will weight and then
Yes.
it will fall. Right, okay.
Exactly, yeah, you start with the right foot. That means start with the droplets and a big droplets. So because of the height, it's limited in the sky. Yeah, so, yeah. So after evaluate the turning into liquids at a two-dimensional surface, but because we talk about the droplets, so we have to evaluate in a three-dimensional environment, okay? Because the atmosphere is 3D. So this cloud chamber is such a equipment. It's like a little room. It's a three-dimensional room equipped with a lot of equipment, such as optical microscopes and software to capture doing statistical analysis, etc. So the seed material will be released from the top of the cloud chamber, and then the optical microscope will non-stop taking images. So here we compare at the same time of the travel inside the chamber, the pure salt create much smaller water droplets, and the CSNT salt create much bigger droplets. And the software will capture all the size and plot them into spectra. So, and present it into 3 different size ranges. The mostly important one is the large size, which is 10 to 25 micron. Because as I said, beyond that, you probably create rainfall. Yeah, if you have a lot of tiny things, you waste that, they may blow away by wind. But only when you're reaching that larger size, you can see here in the large size range, the concentration, the number of large water droplets created by CSNT is about 2.9 times higher than the pure salt and then the background. So we think in the 3D, they're equally impressive, so they perform as well. And based on our initial results, we're collaborating with the collaborator professor in University of Belgrade. His team plotted this numerical 3D modeling. So using this system, you can predict the difference between seeded or unseeded cloud rainfall. Okay, so you can see there's two containers on the right and left. So the left is the scenario without the seeding. The right is a scenario with the seeding, that's a quantity of rainwater. And the red color represents the seeding material is released, and the blue represents the cloud. Yeah, so this is a modeling before you're actually doing the field operation. So it's another level of predicting the effects. And quite happily, the New York Times journalist team spotted and noticed our effort about 2 years ago. And they contacted me. They are preparing a featured article in their annual magazine called Opinions. The title of their feature is 6 Ways We Can Adapt to Climate Change. In this 6, it's a 6 mosaic of different stories from all over the world. And the number 4 story in this article is about our project. The title of that is The United Arab Emirates Embraces Rainmaking. And the title picture is this Dubai, famous Dubai picture. So everyone is very happy because the efforts in the UAE and by my team reaching very far and broad impact. And we are there together with the other important teams and players in the world. Okay, so I would like to move on to my last section, which is about enhanced ice nucleation and growth by porous nanocomposite or cold cloud seeding. We know the cloud in the atmosphere, they are not only warm clouds. That means their temperature of those clouds are not above, only above 0. So warm clouds are made of water vapors, droplets, okay. But above this freezing level, vertically into the atmosphere, there are clouds, so-called cold clouds. Within those clouds, they are supercooled liquids, supercooled droplets. So they're already reaching below 0, but they still resist to become ice and they keep as droplets. So how we turn them into rainfall, that's called cold cloud seeding operation. In general, theoretically, without any impurities in the cold water, supercooled water, they will start ice nucleating at minus 38 degrees, which is a very extreme condition. But with some impurities or seeding materials, they will start ice nucleating at a higher temperature than minus 68. So that is our efforts. We want to produce this seeding material, which the supercooled water vapor can start ice nucleation at a much higher temperature. So you expand the possibility of cold cloud seeding. So the natural occurring ice nucleating seeding materials could come from biological origins such as pollens, bacteria, or could from mineralogical origin like volcano ashes or anthropogenic origins like dust. But they're also rare and far between, very hard to predict where they will appear, how much available. So in my team, I designed this 3D reduced graphene oxide and silica dioxide nanoparticle structure, nanocomposite. So in this structure, graphene oxide, reduced graphene oxide sheets serve as a like foam or sponge type, as a framework. So the silica oxide nanoparticles are embedded across this framework. So altogether, they like a mini natured sponge or foam. Okay. So they provide a lot of tiny pores on their surface. These pores can attract water vapor. At the right condition, they will quickly trigger into ice, crystal nucleation and growth. So this is illustration of how this interface works. We have nanoparticles, which is very hydrophilic. We have this framework carry these nanoparticles, and then they attract water vapor across them. This three material has a similar crystal lattice. They are hexagonal shape. With the alignment by the hydrogen bond, they can form a very nice distribution and triggering by the ice crystal nucleation and growth. So let's look how they look like under the microscope. So this image shows the pure graphene oxide sheets. You can see, as I described, it's like a hollow, fluffy sponge. After we add these silicon nanoparticles, they become more dense. Okay, so this image, we can see through them. You can identify inside, there are very tiny nanoparticles cross through this image. So we're after a synergistical effects. Again, we're using the tool of environmental scanning microscope to evaluate this ice nucleation performance. So we observed two types of behavior. So one is a bulk. I will look again. So one is the bulk ice growth in this type of area. Another one is a single crystal ice. This is ice, by the way. When I saw it first time, I was very excited. I'm very excited for quite a long time, to be honest. So then different areas of the sample create this different pattern of ice growth. So let's look at the reason behind that. So in the relatively smooth region, the water molecules are attracted by those mechanisms as already explained in a relatively large areas and distributed evenly. So there are multiple ice nucleation sites happening simultaneously. So they compete the available water vapor. So they become bulk growth of ice. But in the rough region, there are bigger cavities, there are holes. And these holes trap more water vapor, but they are confined with size. So it doesn't allow many growths together. So all the rest of the water vapor will be fed into the growth of these single crystals. And among these, hydrogen bond play a pretty important role to balance the water and water surface interface, make sure the conditions favor the ice nucleation. Yeah. Finally, I would like to show two images, the ice cloud images. So these clouds are not the same as the white cloud we saw every day. They are ice clouds. This exactly happened in the real environment, what I just described. So the supercooled water droplets suddenly turn into this type of cloud, like through a very rapid, like avalanche. They call them avalanche or explosion type of reaction, suddenly crystallized into ice crystals. Yeah, so these are the cold cloud seeding type of process. That's about all. I would like to acknowledge again the National Center Meteorology through the UAE Research Program for Rain Enhancement and Science and my university, Khalifa University of Science and Technology. Thank you for your attention.
I have a question. I think it's on everyone's mind, and also I have seen it in the Q&A tab and in the comments tab. So people want to know, how do we actually know this is efficient and actually happening? And how do we know this is safe for the environment? Because you just said it's salt. So is salt okay for us to spread around?
Yes. So we know there are two components of this material. The main components, about 90% or more, is salt. So we know salt is, in general, just increase a little bit of, there are plenty of salt in the ocean. So we are not contributing significantly of that, I hope. And the amount of usage is only localized. We are not, because they are seed material, by the way. So maybe 1,000% of the rain is like that, or 10,000%. So they are seeding material, will not blow too much. As I said, the water condensation nucleation started from seed, which is from this salt. But later on, the size grows more times than that, become rain. So in that case, the salt is being diluted many, many, many times. So we don't need to worry about that yet. And yeah, okay. The second component is nanoparticles. Titanium dioxide, this question being asked by me many times as well. The titanium dioxide is a no industrial ingredients, very commonly used in food additives, such as white chocolate. They as a pigments, because they increase the whitish, yeah, and in sunscreen creams all the time, also increase the whitish, and many other applications. So so far the toxicological study identified some other metal compounds, oxide compounds has some threshold. For TiO2, they are not able to identify any health effect threshold. That means, yes, there is, in general, is very little concerns of health.
Okay, yeah, so because I had some cute questions like, is this harmful to plants and is it harmful to people? But if we're talking about a seed 1 in 100,000, this is very small amount, and both salt and the nanomaterial are safe.
Yeah, the seed, the key word is the seed material. Yeah. And when I choose the material, already tried to stretch to as much as possible less harmful.
Yeah.
Because I'm an environmental scientist, yeah, I know that, yeah.
Yeah, so there was one question, I think since we are done with the presentation, we can go directly to the Q&As. I think we have a few questions, and there was one question that says, how many times can we actually apply this? So like if we have a cloud, do we need to have a cloud, or do we have need to have a humid environment and then we can apply it? When do we do this? And how many times can we?
Yeah, that's a little bit outside my research, but as far as I know, the climatologists need to using the satellite map to track down the clouds. So it's much better to have a cloud, but that's the knowledge then. With the progress of this new material, maybe we can create rainfall without a visible cloud. So no one has confirmed that yet. But traditionally, they need to identify clouds. So then you have a target. Then they will release that. Yes. How many times you can apply? As long as you can spot the cloud and is the right type of cloud, which will carry the seeding materials up and down, you know, not a very stable cloud. They need to have some sort of dynamic. And then the spreaded seeding material can be reaching the cloud thoroughly. So yes, as long as you have the suitable cloud, you should be able to conduct a search operation. Yeah. Okay, so there is a question, I think it was before you going into the cold cloud seeding from so you mentioned that not each cloud is the same, so could cloud seeding process from a cloud to another? You kind of Yes. This question. So that's from the video, not from me. Okay. So, but after evaluating from 2D, 3D environment in my lab, so now not me, but the whole program, they are developed programs trying to test them in the field. And I helped them to produce 100 kilos of these materials. Yes, we are ready. And how it's done, but it's delayed by the pandemic. Otherwise, now we know everything already, but it's delayed. How it's done, although I'm not directly involved, but this is so far I can tell, it's a tandem pair of aircrafts. So the seed material will be released from the first aircraft, and the second aircraft carrying all the monitoring equipment, particularly probes, cameras, capture what's happened. The pair of aircrafts will traverse up and down. They're amazing pilots. They will be in US mostly. So they will come up with the report. So now we're already, this will never been done before, never. But this new material probably provide opportunity to really evaluate. And the conclusion maybe will provide more insights. How can we quantitatively evaluate this effect? Although it's an open atmosphere, but maybe we still can derive some statistical effects, but so far it's delayed, yeah.
Okay, so there's this interesting question. It says, how expensive is it to coat the salt particles? It says with titanium.
Yeah. Cost is like this. When I prepare 1 gram in my lab, it is quite expensive because every chemical is ultra pure, and the charges may be very high. But when you scale up the process into a pilot plant, you produce 100 kilos, it's already come down, but it's still quite expensive. But imagine in the future, UAE will have a factory to produce these seeds, and then we only need some raw materials, and the price will be down. And the UAE can also sell this to the international market as well because it's come from here. Yeah. So I think the cost is on our side, although at this stage it's coming down more with the scale up. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense for most productions. Okay, so there's an interesting question by Nathaniel, I think. So how much control do we have on the rain formation? So we know that things do not go wrong. So from what I understand, it's the effect of cloud seeding is just a small percentage. It's not like we can make a rainstorm, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's correct in a way. So because you can see, this is still a large localized operation. I don't call it a small localized because they're using an aircraft to fly, not to walk. It's a reasonable scale, but from that scale, it's still localized. But what I don't know, or maybe still under investigation, is if you continuing doing this localized rain enhancement operations, you may send a signal to the bigger atmosphere. So here is like a lake. So we have a lake, we have an ocean. Remember, in the country, they have a lake, they have more rainfall, something like that. So if you have more frequent cycles of water, they may slowly change the water cycle. That means UAE down the track may become, doesn't have any more problem of shortage in rainfall. But this is influenced by many, many, many factors and takes maybe centuries, which I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we'll not be able to see that. But if we can make UAE rain only like enough for people to grow, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so let's see what else. I think we had a question by Mariam Luta. She was asking, why does the condensation occur mostly in the center of the cloud? And thank you, Dr. Linda.
Ooh, in the center of the cloud. Oh yeah. Probably, when you see a cloud, it is a compilation of many millions of little water vapor molecules, and probably the center is more dense, and that means the relative humidity is undiluted. That means they're reaching 100% humidity. That means bunker to bunker water molecules. So that's, as I said, because of the condensation and the water deliquescy is related to how much water molecules surrounded these materials. So that's why there probably will start. Yeah. But with the increasing activities of the new materials, So before they reaching there, may start already. Yes. So things are progressing. Yes.
So Dr. Lourdes Vega is asking you a question.
All right. Hi.
Your colleague. You can ask her a question in her session in 2 days. So she's asking, do you have a company ready to prepare for large scale?
This is, we patented both warm cloud and ice cloud. So they are owned by UAE and the university, which is a very good case. And government, UAE government is particularly interested to commercialize it right from the country. No one else yet. It will show the world it starts from here. That's all I know. I really maybe should involve more in the future, but at this stage, I think we will commercialize from here because imagine the country has practiced this for 20 years. So it's very keen and we want to harvest this new thing right from here, benefit like cities and peoples here first. Yeah, that's my understanding. So the company thing is like maybe start from a government initiative. Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't know much detail. Yeah.
Okay. So I have Huda Al-Kitbi here asking, so after you do like cloud seeding, have you tested the rain that comes down? Is it different? Is it normal?
I discussed this with the meteorologist in UAE. I believe they have rain gauge set up across the country. And I mentioned this to them, you know, statistically, year by year, month by month, day by day, you probably will see the change pattern. And also, apart from that, if you analyze the water samples collected, you probably can see the difference or not. So, but that's not part of my research yet. Yeah, you know, but if they ask me, I will make contribution to tell them, okay, to suggest this can be helpful for a certain effects. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we have 2 questions about this. So they ask, is every salt like crystal will
Sorry, I lost the sound.
Oh, do you hear?
No, it's back. Yeah, no, it's
okay.
back.
So they were asking is every salt crystal will make a droplet? So kind of like.
Yeah, okay. Again, salt could be a nickname for a mixture of salts. I think from my knowledge, from research point of view, of pure salt, which is 100% NaCl sodium chloride, it will turn into droplets at 75% of relative humidity. Yes. The other salt may be higher or lower. It can be checked and found. Yeah.
Okay. So it depends on the type.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be hygroscopic. So they have to
what to absorb.
Yeah, water have some interactions with water. Yeah. Like a metal oxide, sometimes they don't have this. Like titanium, they don't have this. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have? I think we still have a few more. Okay, so okay, so there's a question that says, salt crystals do have weight. So will it float in the cloud or will it drop with the droplet, I guess?
Yeah. So this is microphysics of the cloud. So it's designed, it's very small. So before my project, the scientists in Japan, in Germany, they already evaluated many, many years about the optimal size of these particles. So I had a conversation at the beginning of the project with a professor from Japan. His institute is about Institute of Cloud Seeding, something like that. So, and they did mention there are optimum size. For example, 1 micron. 1 micron equivalent to 1,000 nanometers. Okay, So it's still very small. Because they're very light, so the updraft will carry it around. Yeah. Even they turn it into droplet, it's still the same density, so they will still carry around. So size, if it's too big, it will fall. Yeah. That's why we need to use in nanotechnology to control its size and its thickness. Yeah.
So maybe I think it's a bit asked differently in different. So for example, today we want to do cloud seeding on top of Abu Dhabi or Dubai. How much materials do we need to create from that nanomaterials? Do we have like 1 gram or like, I don't know, 1 kilo? What does that look like?
It should be in the kilos, although I never involved in any one of search operation, but the people showed in the video, they knows very much. I suggest you contact the Center of Meteorologies, which is based in Abu Dhabi, and they probably can answer those practical questions. But in my understanding, you're using kilograms, like several kilos. If it's too heavy, it's very hard to carry by the, but the key thing is we deal with very small particles. So even 1 kilo, they generate millions and millions of seeds. Okay, so it's not using it as a bulk, we're using it as a seed. Yeah, so a small weight representing a lot of individual crystals and have a profound effects to do more effects. Yeah.
Okay, I think we answered a lot of the questions. Anyone else? I think we will try our best to answer them later on. Okay, so before we close, Dr. Linda, I mean, thank you a lot for that great presentation. We learned a lot, but I still have like a lot of questions in my mind. I feel like we need another 2-hour session just to learn more. But what is your message today to people who want to work in this field, whether it's in water security, helping the environment, to people who now in schools and they want to specialize? What do you say to them?
And thank you, Ms. Amal, to give me this opportunity. And also, I'm very happy to see so many questions that suggest people are interested of what I'm talking and the topic. So for the message, I would like to say, during your younger years, okay, hopefully cover most of the people, you should strive to receive good education, and both undergraduate and postgraduate studies. And for example, PhD degree will provide you with 4 years of supervised research training. So you will know more about research. And due to the continued progress of science and technology, and the availability of many new tools, advanced research tools, such as very powerful electron microscope produced year after year, and artificial intelligence, supercomputers, and nanotechnology techniques. So what took 20 years to achieve by my generation of scientists may only take much shorter time in the younger generation. So it's very positive. So as long as you work hard and being persistent, you will go further and further on the career you choose, either research or something else. It doesn't matter. You need to keep in mind. Yeah. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you again, Dr. Linda. Thank you all for joining us in this session. Really grateful for all of you. I hope you enjoyed it. I just launched a poll just for a quick evaluation. Again, Dr. Linda, thank you for the great presentation. We really enjoyed it today. Everyone else, I think there was quite a few questions about where we can see the session. We will be downloading the recording, uploading it for within our channel. Also through the Youth Academy, they will be also having that. We have 7 more sessions coming up, 2 each week. Please, you'll find the links in the chat. You can join us to register in these.